Welcome to the My Learning Podcast, where we discuss things that we are learning and finding interesting in our classes. This week we have here with us Giovanni, Kaden, Nathan, and Brianna. Brianna will talk about language arts, Giovanni will talk about mathematics, Nathan will talk about social studies, Kaden will talk about science, and yours truly will focus on mental ability.
You are listening to My Learning Podcast, where learning is fun.
Hi, I am Daniel Heyman. My subject area for this episode is mental ability. The topic was logical and quantitative reasoning. The focus question or big idea is developing reasoning skills. One of our objectives is to help grade 6 students master the ability test. Some of the things I have found interesting are learning different ways to solve the same problem and collaborating with classmates. I have learned that we have numbers called Roman numerals and their rules. Here is an example I want to share. XIII is 13. I know it is 13 because X is 10 and I is 1. And the rule says on the left you subtract and on the right you add. So you would say X plus I plus I plus I equals 13. Thank you.
You are listening to My Learning Podcast, where learning is fun.
Hi, I am Brianna Redwood. My subject area for this episode is language arts. The topic was themes. The focus question or big idea is identifying themes. One of our objectives is use text, main ideas, or important points to identify themes. Some of the things that I have found interesting are theme is the main idea of the story, and theme is a plot to a situation or the middle of a story. I have learned that a theme is a topic or message of a story. Think of love, for example. Love may be the topic, but learning to love yourself may be the theme. Here is an example I would like to share. Examples of theme could be revenge, rich versus poor, betrayal, and forgiveness. We learned about verb tenses. The focus question or big idea is using verb tenses. One of our objectives is practice using various tenses. Some of the things that I have found interesting are verbs come in three main tenses: past, present, and future. The past is used to describe what happened already. For example, yesterday, earlier in the day, and last week. The present tense is used to describe things that are happening right now. For example, I am walking, I am talking. Am is a present tense verb. The future tense describes things that have not happened yet. For example, later, tomorrow, or next week. I will be successful in TET exams. Will also shows future tense. We learned about persuasive writing. Objective: use persuasive language to convince the readers. The thing that I have found interesting about persuasive writing is that it convinces readers to believe in an idea or an opinion. For example, in a speech or even an advertisement, the speaker uses an attention getter. Persuasive writing also emphasizes and uses repetition to help convince readers and listeners. Thank you for listening today.
You are listening to My Learning Podcast, where learning is fun.
Walker. My subject area for this episode is mathematics. The topic was ratios and percentages. The focus question or big idea is what are percentages? One of our objectives is solve problems requiring the conversion of fractions to percentages and from percentages to decimals. I have learned that percent means out of 100. Also, it helps me spend my money wisely. Some of the things that I have found interesting are the process of changing percent into decimal and the process of changing fractions into percentages. Here is an example I would like to share. If there are 100 students in a class, 1 out of every 4 students are Americans. The rest are Indians. What percentage of the students are Indians and what percentage of the students are Americans? First, since we know that 1 out of every 4 students are Americans, we write 1/4 as a fraction, which would be 1/4 or a quarter. Then we cross multiply that by 100. So we say 4 into 1 goes 4 into 4 goes 1 times. 4 into 100. Since we want to make 100 a fraction, we say 100/1. 4 into 100 goes 25 times. Now we can multiply numerator and numerator and denominator and denominator. So 1 times 1 equals 1. 1 times 25 equals 25. So now our fraction reads 25/1. Any number divided by 25 would give us back the same number. So the percentage of that are Americans would be 25% Americans. Since we know that the rest are 25%, it's common sense really. Since we know that 25% are Americans, then 75% would be Indians. Thank you again.
You are listening to my learning podcast where learning is fun.
Hi, I am Nathan Clark. My subject area for this episode is social studies. The topic was lines of latitude and longitude. Some of the things I found interesting are that lines of latitude and longitude are imaginary lines. I have learned that the major line of latitude and longitude divides the world. For example, the prime meridian, which is the major line of longitude, divides the world into the western and eastern hemisphere, and the equator, which is the major line of latitude, divides the world into the northern and southern hemisphere.
Hi, I'm Kaden Martin. My subject area for this episode is science. The focus question or big idea was refraction of light. One of our objectives was to investigate refraction in our everyday life. Some of the things that I found interesting are light travels in a straight line but changes directions as it passes through a curved lens. Light moves faster in air and slower in water. I have learned that refraction is the bending of light. Refraction happens because light changes its speed as it goes at an angle from one medium to another. Here is an example I want to share. I filled a transparent glass halfway with water. I placed a spoon in the glass container. The spoon appeared magnified. It seemed broken and separated, where the water and air meet. Thank you.
You are listening to My Learning Podcast, where learning is fun.
Try to get 8 hours of sleep. While you sleep, your brain processes what you have learned and puts it into the correct place in your memory for retrieval. If you don't get enough sleep, it negatively affects your memory.
You are listening to my learning podcast where learning is fun.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you all for joining us as we all hope you are learning too. Join us again next time where we continue to discuss topics that show off my learning.